Most men collapse under pressure. They don't fall because they are weak, but because their minds betray them when it matters most. You've seen it happen. A man who looks confident, suddenly shaking, his voice trembling, his logic gone. It's not fear of the world that breaks him. It's the storm within his brain. And that is where this begins. There's a hidden switch in your brain, a mechanism evolution built for survival. It decides whether you stay calm or collapse. When chaos hits, most people's brains flip to panic mode, flooding their bodies with chemicals that cloud their vision, shorten their breath, and paralyze thought. But a rare few, their switch flips the other way. They become colder, clearer, and sharper under stress. This is the hack you're about to learn. It isn't meditation. It isn't breathing slow or repeating calm mantras. It's something older, something built into your biology but lost through comfort. This is the skill that warriors, assassins, spies, and philosophers all discovered in different forms, the art of detachment, the ability to step outside your emotions in real time while chaos unfolds around you. Imagine this: someone insults you in public. You feel the heat rise in your chest. Your jaw tightens. Every instinct says to react. But instead of exploding, something strange happens. Your awareness separates from the emotion. You still feel it, but from a distance, as if watching it on a screen. The anger is there, but it has no control. You've taken the driver's seat back from your brain. That's the core of the hack, the ability to break the link between trigger and reaction. When you first try it, it will feel unnatural, because your entire system is built to react. Evolution trained you to respond instantly to threats, to fight or flee. But in the modern world, those reflexes destroy us. Arguments, careers, relationships. We ruin them because our ancient wiring mistakes words and emotions for physical danger. The hack works by interrupting that pattern before it hijacks you. The first step is awareness. Not the vague, spiritual kind, but mechanical awareness. You must learn to catch the moment your body begins to react. Every emotion leaves a footprint, tightening of the chest, shift in breath, tingling in your limbs. The second you feel it, your training begins. Instead of fighting the sensation or judging it, you simply observe it. You watch it like a scientist observing a specimen. This single act, observation without reaction, triggers a neurological shift. The brain's limbic system, responsible for emotional storms, loses its grip. The prefrontal cortex, the center of logic and decision, comes online. You can literally see this in brain scans. Soldiers and monks both show the same pattern. When they detach from emotion, the survival circuits go quiet. That's the science behind cold control. Now imagine this applied in real life. You're in a high-stakes meeting. The pressure is suffocating. People are watching, waiting for you to fail. Your heart begins to race, but you notice it. You take a silent step back within your mind. Instead of being the man inside the storm, you become the man watching it. You see others panic. You see your own anxiety, and you let it pass like a cloud. You speak slowly. Everyone else is shaking. You remain still. This calmness is not emptiness, it's focus. When your nervous system is quiet, you perceive more. You notice micro-expressions, tones, the small cracks in others' confidence. This awareness gives you power. You can steer the room without raising your voice. You can disarm anger without force. People don't know why, but they feel your control. Over time, something else happens. You begin to crave pressure, because you realize stress is no longer your enemy. It's your training ground. Each argument, deadline, or moment of chaos becomes a laboratory for control. While others avoid stress, you use it to sharpen your mind. The world becomes a test chamber where you practice emotional detachment. And slowly, your identity shifts. You're no longer the man who reacts. You're the man who watches. You become the observer, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who sees through the noise. That's why people who master this hack seem cold. But in truth, they're not emotionless. They simply control when to feel and when to act. The second step of the hack is naming. The moment you observe a surge of emotion, you quietly name it in your mind. This is anger. This is fear. This is shame. The act of naming activates the language center of your brain, which steals energy from the emotional circuits. It's like flipping a breaker in a storm. The emotional current loses power. The more you practice naming, the faster it works. But this isn't easy. The brain fights back. It wants to stay in the old pattern, to explode, defend, justify, because that feels powerful. But real power is in restraint. You'll notice, after several days of practice, that moments which once triggered you now pass quietly. The insult doesn't land. The pressure doesn't shake you. It's not numbness. It's sovereignty over your own system. This is the mental weapon that ancient Stoics described. When they spoke of apatheia, the state of being untouched by external chaos, Marcus Aurelius didn't achieve calm through luck. He trained it through repetition, through observing his own thoughts without judgment. Samurai trained it through meditation before battle. Soldiers today train it through stress inoculation. Different names, same essence. There's one danger, though. The more detached you become, the more tempting it is to feel superior, to believe you're above emotion. That's not mastery, that's arrogance. The purpose of detachment is not to escape life, but to engage with it fully, with clarity instead of chaos. You use emotion as a tool, not a master. When you apply this in real life, you'll start to notice something strange. Others begin to project onto you. They'll say, "You've changed. You're cold. You don't care." But deep down, they'll respect you. Because control is rare. People sense it instinctively. They know when someone is calm not because they're ignorant, but because they've conquered themselves. That's where this journey begins, in the quiet space between trigger and reaction. Every time you catch that space and choose stillness, you strengthen your control. Every time you fail and react, you weaken it. But that's okay. Mastery is built in failure. Every outburst you analyze later becomes a lesson. Within weeks of daily practice, you'll start to feel the shift. Situations that once spiked your adrenaline will now feel like slow motion. You'll see options others miss. You'll hear what others can't under stress. You'll become cold not because you lost feeling, but because you gained awareness. That's the awakening of control, the foundation of the untouchable mind. The mind is a battlefield. Every emotion, impulse, every thought is a signal fired between two forces, one ancient, one evolved. The ancient part, the limbic system, reacts. It screams, fights, and runs. The evolved part, the prefrontal cortex, observes, plans, and decides. The balance between these two determines who you are under pressure. When the limbic takes over, you lose yourself. When the prefrontal leads, you gain control. The hack is simply a method to train that leadership. Science calls it cognitive override. Psychology calls it dissociation under control. Warriors call it staying cool under fire. But whatever name you give it, the effect is the same. Your awareness detaches from emotion and moves into observation. In brain scans, this looks like a power shift. The emotional centers go dim while the logical centers light up. The man who masters this becomes immune to the chaos around him. Most people think calmness means relaxation. It doesn't. Calmness under pressure is a highly active state. Your heart still beats fast. Your body still prepares for action, but your awareness refuses to drown in it. You can be calm while your body is burning with adrenaline. That's the paradox of control. Your outer storm becomes fuel for inner stillness. In moments of stress, your body releases cortisol and norepinephrine. These chemicals are not the enemy. They're information. They tell you that your system has detected a threat. The mistake is identifying with that signal, saying, "I am anxious." The reality is simpler. My body is producing adrenaline. Shift from identity to observation is subtle but profound. It tells your brain that you're not inside the chaos. You're watching it. That is the root of psychological detachment. You create a small space between stimulus and self. Viktor Frankl, the man who survived Nazi concentration camps, said it best. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose. The hack trains that space to grow wider, clearer, and stronger until no storm can fill it. Once you understand the biology, you can use it as a weapon. When adrenaline hits, your body enters tunnel vision. Peripheral sight narrows, time feels faster, thinking becomes shallow. The hack reverses that process. Observation widens your focus. Breathing slows the heartbeat. The act of naming emotion tells the brain the threat is not real. Slowly, your system recalibrates. You're back in control. This is why soldiers and first responders use controlled dissociation during crises. They detach emotionally not to escape reality but to function within it. The brain can't operate logically and emotionally. At the same peak, it's either one or the other. When you choose observation, you reclaim your higher faculties. You start to see again. Let's take a closer look at the psychology behind it. Dissociation isn't suppression. Suppression means pushing feelings down, pretending they don't exist. Dissociation, in this controlled form, means allowing them to exist without ownership. The feeling arises. You acknowledge it. You don't feed it. This distinction is what separates emotional mastery from denial. You're not cutting emotions out. You're cutting the chain that ties you to them. Imagine standing in the middle of a raging river. The current pulls at you, threatens to drag you under. Most people fight it or drown. Detachment means stepping onto the riverbank, watching the current pass. The water still flows, but it no longer controls your movement. The same mechanism applies in arguments, in performance anxiety, in fear of judgment. The next time someone attacks you verbally, don't resist their words. Watch them enter your awareness, move through your system, and leave. The less you fight, the less damage they do. Resistance feeds reaction. Observation starves it. There's a reason ancient philosophers and modern neuroscientists agree on this. Principle: observation rewires the brain. Neural pathways follow attention. When you repeatedly choose calm observation over panic, your brain learns that chaos is not a threat. It physically rewires itself to stay balanced under pressure. That's neuroplasticity, your mind reshaping itself through experience. Over weeks of training, you begin to develop a baseline of stillness. Even outside of stress, your default state becomes quieter. Thoughts slow down. You respond instead of react. People around you will start to notice. They'll say your presence feels different, heavier, quieter, more deliberate. That's the energy of someone who stopped being a slave to their emotional circuitry. The science goes deeper. The vagus nerve, a long nerve connecting your brain to your organs, controls your heart rate, digestion, and calmness. When you breathe slowly or observe without panic, the vagus nerve sends a signal to your brain that the threat has passed. This activates the parasympathetic system, your body's natural calm mode. The more often you do this, the faster your system switches from chaos to clarity. Think of it as emotional conditioning. You're training your nervous system like an athlete trains muscle memory. When chaos arrives, your body automatically shifts into calm observation. That's when you become dangerous, because you can act while everyone else is still reacting. Now, let's talk about how dissociation works in real-world fields. In combat psychology, it's called tactical detachment. Soldiers are trained to separate awareness from emotion, to keep judgment intact under fire. They're not fearless. They're functional. Fear still exists, but it's filed away until the mission is complete. In performance psychology, athletes use the same mechanism to enter the flow state. When pressure rises, they don't fight their nerves. They channel them. Awareness expands, self-consciousness dissolves, and every move becomes precise. This is the same cold focus the hack builds, but you don't need a battlefield or a stadium to find it. You can trigger it in your everyday life. Imagine walking into a meeting that decides your career. Everyone else is tense. Their bodies betray them, fidgeting hands, shallow breath, darting eyes. You feel it too, but you don't resist it. You simply observe the rush in your body. You breathe once. You speak slowly. The moment you take control of your pace, your body follows. Your tone deepens. The room listens. You've shifted from prey to predator, without saying a word. Now imagine an argument with someone you love. Emotions flare. Voices rise. You want to prove your point, to defend your pride. But then you remember this is a test. You notice the heat rising in your chest. You stay still. You let them finish. You look them in the eyes. Calm, quiet, unreactive. The dynamic changes instantly. The other person either calms down or exposes their lack of control. Either way, you win, not over them, but over yourself. In psychological terms, this is dominance through regulation. The calm nervous system always dominates the chaotic one. People unconsciously submit to whoever controls their emotional tone. This is why the most powerful man in the room is often the quietest. His calm is not weakness, and it's gravity. It pulls everyone into his pace. This is also why mastering emotional control can be dangerous if misused. When you can stay unreadable under chaos, people reveal themselves around you. You can provoke reactions without exposing your own state. You can lead, manipulate, or defend, depending on how you choose to use it. That's why the hack must be handled with responsibility. Power without integrity becomes corruption. As your control deepens, you'll notice something profound. You stop taking things personally. Insults, stress, rejection, they no longer hit the same. Because your sense of self is no longer anchored to emotion. You begin to understand that thoughts and feelings are weather, not identity. They pass through the mind, but they're not you. When you reach this level of awareness, life slows down. You become patient. You choose your words carefully. You no longer waste energy explaining yourself. The silence around your decisions becomes louder than any argument. People feel your focus. They trust your composure. They follow your lead even without your request. That's the silent charisma of control. And yet, true mastery requires balance. Detachment isn't about being lifeless. It's about emotional precision, feeling what serves you and discarding what doesn't. There's a beauty in controlled intensity. When you choose to feel joy, you feel it completely. When you decide to unleash anger, it's surgical, not explosive. You don't live half asleep. You live deliberately. To reach that level, you must train both awareness and embodiment. Awareness separates you from emotion. Embodiment reconnects you to it on your own terms. You're not a monk escaping life. You're a warrior mastering it. This brings us to the next phase, turning knowledge into instinct. Because understanding this hack is nothing until it becomes automatic. And that happens through drills, small, daily exercises that reprogram your brain to stay calm under pressure, no matter what the world throws at you. Knowledge without embodiment fades. The mind understands, but the body forgets. That's why this final part of the hack is training. Not theory, not talk, but repetition. You cannot think your way into control. You must condition it into your nervous system. Every drill is designed to make calmness your default reaction, to make stillness instinctive even when chaos tries to rip it away. The first drill is simple but powerful. The observation pause. Choose any ordinary moment of discomfort. It could be when you're stuck in traffic, when someone cuts in line, or when your phone buzzes with an annoying message. Notice the first surge of irritation. Then, instead of reacting, pause for 3 seconds. Don't fight the emotion, just watch it. Feel where it sits in your body. The tightness in your chest, the pressure in your jaw, the heat in your stomach. Observe it without judgment. You'll feel it dissolve faster than you expect. That 3-second pause rewires the brain every time you do it. Do this dozens of times a day. Small moments of observation create big changes in wiring. Over time, your brain begins to associate awareness with safety. The stress response loses its dominance. You become someone who pauses before every storm, not by decision, but by design. The second drill is naming the signal. Whenever emotion rises, name it in your mind. This is anger. This is fear. This is ego. You don't analyze it or justify it. You simply label it. Neuroscientists discovered that naming emotion activates the brain's language center. stealing energy from the limbic system. The more you practice this, the shorter your emotional reaction becomes. It's a simple trick, but it builds immense composure. The third drill is cold conditioning. This one trains your body directly. Start with something small. Cold water on your face or a 30-second cold shower. The discomfort triggers a natural panic reflex. Instead of escaping, focus on relaxing your breath. Let the cold hit you, but stay calm. This teaches your body that external stress does not equal danger. When you can remain still in cold water, you can remain still in confrontation. Cold is the physical form of chaos. Master it, and you master pressure. The fourth drill is slow breathing under fire. Whenever you feel anxiety or tension, don't take deep, dramatic breaths. Instead, slow your exhale. Make it twice as long as your inhale. This engages the vagus nerve and signals the brain to calm the system. You'll notice your pulse slow, your muscles loosen, and your mind open again. Eventually, you'll learn to control your emotions through breath alone. The fifth drill is still body. Active mind. Practice sitting or standing, completely still while keeping your awareness alert. The body wants to fidget under stress. Stillness tells the brain you are safe. This exercise builds presence. You'll discover that silence, when combined with stillness, feels like power. You'll start using your physical composure to influence rooms, meetings, and confrontations. People sense it subconsciously. A man who doesn't flinch projects authority without words. The sixth drill is shadow reflection. Each night before you sleep, replay one moment from your day when you lost control, a moment you reacted instead of observing. Don't shame yourself. Just analyze it. What was the trigger? What did you feel first? Heat, tension, fear? Visualize yourself reliving that moment with the hack active. Imagine staying calm, watching your emotions instead of drowning in them. This visualization rewires the brain the same way physical practice does. You begin to replace regret with mastery. Over weeks of practice, these drills merge into instinct. You'll start catching reactions before they happen. You'll feel a surge of emotion, but it won't own you. You'll pause, breathe, and see clearly. You'll move through life slower but sharper. Others will rush, overreact, collapse. You'll remain calm. Not because you're detached from life, but because you've become one with the present moment. This state is often called cold flow. It's when awareness and control merge into one. You're not forcing calm. Calmness is simply your natural rhythm. Decisions come effortlessly. Pressure feels like fuel. You no longer chase peace, you radiate it. In high-stakes situations, this gives you an unfair advantage. During arguments, your silence becomes louder than shouting. In business, your patience outlasts others' impulsiveness. In danger, your composure keeps you alive while panic kills the untrained. This is what people mean when they say the calm man is the most dangerous one. Doesn't waste energy fighting himself. All his focus is aimed outward. As you evolve, you'll realize that the hack isn't about emotionless existence. It's about emotional control. Precision emotion. You decide when to ignite and when to extinguish. You use emotions as tools, not as masters. That's the difference between reacting and ruling. The warrior doesn't suppress fear. He controls when to let it breathe. The deeper layer of this practice is identity. The more you observe your emotions, the more you realize you're not them. You're not anger, not pride, not even the voice that narrates your thoughts. You are the watcher, the silent witness behind it all. That realization alone ends half of human suffering, because once you know you're the observer, no emotion can consume you. Here's how you'll know the hack has fully integrated. You'll notice that silence feels addictive. Noise, gossip, and arguments will start to feel like pollution. You'll start conserving words. You'll stop needing to prove yourself. You'll listen more and talk less. People will lean closer to hear you when you finally speak. That's real influence, born not from dominance, but from restraint. In relationships, this mastery transforms everything. You stop reacting to emotional manipulation. You can love deeply without losing yourself. You can argue without ego. You give without fear of rejection, because you've detached your worth from others' approval. You don't need validation. You are validation. Your calmness becomes your language of strength. In leadership, this mindset commands loyalty. People follow the one who doesn't panic. In chaos, they look for the calmest face in the room. That becomes you. You don't lead with noise. You lead with steadiness. When others spiral, you anchor them. When others rage, you slow the storm. That's influence at the biological level. There's a stage beyond even this, a kind of serene aggression. You're peaceful, but capable of destruction when needed. It's not weakness disguised as calm. It's calm that can become fire at will. That's the full arc of control. Cold mind, warm heart, sharp edge. But remember, every strength has a shadow. If you misuse detachment, it turns into isolation. If you use calmness to avoid emotions, you'll become numb. Balance is everything. Feel deeply, but don't drown. Care fully, but don't cling. Power is not in rejecting emotion, but in choosing when to engage it. That's why these drills must become rituals. You can't master detachment once and forget it. It's a living discipline. Each day tests it anew. Traffic jams, rejections, insults, failure. But instead of running from those tests, you start seeking them. Because every test is another chance to prove control. And one day, you'll notice something strange. Stress doesn't bother you anymore. The same problems that used to terrify you now feel like puzzles. You'll handle them with precision, not panic. You'll realize that pressure never leaves. You simply rise above it. When others break down, you'll stay grounded. When others chase noise, you'll move in silence. When others lose themselves in chaos, you'll stand in the eye of the storm, calm, clear, unshaken. That's the man you become through this hack. The transformation isn't visible on the surface. It happens quietly. Your breathing slows. Your voice deepens. Your posture straightens. You no longer rush to fill silence. You listen more carefully. You walk differently, steady, deliberate, unreadable. People won't understand why they feel uneasy around you, but they will respect you. Because control radiates energy that can't be faked. And as this control matures, you begin to see the truth. Stress never disappears. Life will always test you. But the mind that knows how to observe can never be defeated. Pain becomes data. Fear becomes energy. Failure becomes instruction. That's the untouchable mind, the one that walks through fire without burning. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being unstoppable. When others collapse, you remain composed. When others fight the storm, you become the storm. Calm, cold, and deadly focused. So train daily. Practice your pauses. Embrace discomfort. Observe your emotions like a scientist, not a victim. Every moment of stress is an invitation to sharpen your edge. Every argument is a lesson. Every setback is resistance training for your will. Master the hack, not once, but every day. Because the world won't get calmer. You must. And when you do, you'll discover what true power feels like. Quiet, controlled, and untouchable.